With the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, many games from the original Switch received free updates that gave them a little bump in graphics and performance to help them run silky smooth on the new system. But no game has come even close to experiencing as dramatic a glow-up as Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. The improvements are such a night and day transition that some people are even claiming Scarlet and Violet now rank in the top 3 best Pokémon games ever made. A bold claim, certainly, but I can't deny it does feel like an almost entirely new experience playing these games on Switch 2. Not just because they're running at a silky smooth 60 frames per second for the first time in over 20 years. Really, Emerald? You're that old? But also because the performance patch brought along with it some noticeable adjustments to Pokémon spawn rates. There's a lot more of them, sometimes even too many if you ask me, but it never once makes the frame rate drop or cause the game to lag at all, compared to the original Switch where as soon as a single drop of rain started falling, the game would start running slower than Regigigas in its first 5 turns. I know this video is long overdue, and that's mainly because when the Switch 2 dropped, I was on vacation in Florida, so I didn't really have much of a chance to sit down and really appreciate just how much better Scarlet and Violet run on the new system. The vlog's up now, by the way. But even though plenty of others have already compared the graphics and frame rate between consoles, there are still some differences I've noticed that others haven't necessarily pointed out. Plus, I want to dive deeper into my own thoughts on how this patch could impact the very future of Pokémon. That might sound dramatic, but consider this. While Scarlet and Violet's upgrade is entirely free for anyone that already owns the game, the same can't be said for the upcoming Pokémon Legends ZA. Granted, this price bump mostly reflects the gaming industry overall raising its prices, but it's still a pretty tough pill to swallow for those unable to upgrade yet. So just how worth it is this performance patch? Well, let's begin with the most basic but arguably most crucial comparison, the loading times. And while we're waiting for the Switch 1 to do its thing, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet for more deep dives into the Pokémon franchise. Did you do it? Cause we're still waiting on old reliable Mr. Switch. Okay, finally. Almost fell asleep there. As you can see, the Nintendo Switch 2 significantly reduces loading times, and that goes way beyond just booting the game. Fast traveling anywhere in Paldea, and especially to the different DLC zones, takes way less time with the upgraded patch. The loading times are so much faster in fact that speedruns of Scarlet and Violet are seeing crazy revolution right now, just off the sheer fact speedrunners don't have to sit around waiting for loading. Besides fast traveling though, to me the biggest improvement is definitely felt when loading into Terra raid battles. Not that these were ever necessary to beat the game, but because of how long it would take to get past that blinding white loading screen, I would purposely avoid raid battles as much as I could during my playthroughs, cause ain't nobody got time for that. Anyway, this next point may come off as sorta weird because it really should have worked like this from the beginning, but I am absolutely shocked at how much better menus are, both in terms of smoothness and how fast everything loads compared to the original Switch. When viewing Pokemon models in the boxes, it takes like a couple seconds for each Pokemon to load in, whereas now it is completely seamless. Absolutely massive upgrade. But you know what's even more massive? The loading times on the clothes changing menu. You guys know how much I love character customizations, at least in past Pokemon games. This one kind of sucks because, you know, it's all school uniforms, but it really did not help Scarlet and Violet that it took literal seconds to load each clothing option. Over on the Switch 2, it really is mind-blowing to me just how much faster everything is. But at the same time, it's kinda sad that as a Pokemon fan, something as simple as menus working properly is so mind-blowing to me. They do say time is our most valuable resource on this planet, and saving so much of it with these improved loading times in Scarlet and Violet, and presumably in future Pokemon games, is amazing. Speaking of time, are you tired of wasting yours having to go get snacks from the store? Maybe you want them conveniently delivered right to your door. Then you're gonna love the sponsor of this video, Sakurako and Tokyo Treat. Just got back from vacation, and I'm excited to try some Japanese snacks. And this month's theme is Mount Fuji Summertime. Every box comes with a guidebook where you can read about the snacks, but also just the culture of Japan. Like this month's Maker highlight is about La Marie de Chaillat's Matcha Friand. I definitely butchered the name of that, but this is it. I'm thinking I'll do at least one of the Mount Fuji shaped snacks. This one's calling out to me right here. It's like a type of jelly. Well, I think these two are sweet, so I should do at least one savory snack. Let's go with these chips. As far as the flavor, it seems like it's just sea salt, which, I mean, that's the best type of chips right there. I would not have at all guessed that this mochi, oh wait, mochi's made from rice, right? Okay, that makes sense, because I was gonna say it tastes kind of like senbei. Not the craziest flavor, because it's just sea salt, but very solid. The really cool thing about Sakurako is every month you get some kind of dishware or tableware, and just look at that. Absolutely beautiful. I somehow always mess up opening these. Hopefully it goes better this time, because I've got the help of not one, but two kitties. A little ASMR jiggle action. That is absolutely delicious. I already forgot what flavor it was, but it's a 10/10. Some flavors are just too hard to describe. You gotta try it out for yourself. And every month you also get a different kind of tea. You already saw the packaging for this one, super cute. It is rice tea with matcha. We'll set that aside for now because I've burned my mouth way too many times in these. But finally, we have the Maker highlighted snack, the Morito Matcha Friand. This is not for you, dude. What is your problem? I guess if you don't like matcha, you might not like this, but I'm a matcha fiend, so let's try it. So sweet, so delicious, and the texture, whatever they put in there, oh my God. I wish there was like at least 3 more of these. And that's Sakurako. But of course, this video is also sponsored by Tokyo Treat. Tokyo Treat has snacks you can find more commonly at Japanese convenience stores. Things like potato chips, candy, sometimes even soda or ramen. And this month's theme is Harajuku Snack Venture, featuring some very colorful and cute treats matching the vibes of Tokyo's trendiest neighborhood. Sign up with the link in the description and use code MUNCH for $5 off your first box. Look at these little sugar cubes, they're so freaking cute. Thank you again to Sakurako and Tokyo Treat for sponsoring this video.
And now that I'm all sugared up, it's time to get serious. Because we're going to be visiting some of the most notoriously laggy messes in Paldea. And we're of course going to be starting off with the Tag Tree Thicket. The graffiti-covered forest that slows down so frequently, shiny hunters have officially dubbed it the Lag Tree Thicket. Not the most creative name, but it works. I'll let the footage speak for itself here, because you can see the buttery smooth 60 FPS really lets you appreciate all the intricate details and diversity of Pokemon. Even with rain, which for some reason made any area lag on the original Switch, on the new hardware, the thicket manages to stay consistently lagless, which is frankly true of pretty much every area I've tested. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because as nice as it is to go through this forest without it feeling like you're running in zero gravity, even on the Switch 2, Paldea is still far from bug-free. Not talking about you, Venonat. Because of the varying elevations in this region, you might find that oftentimes engaging in Pokemon battles leads to some pretty interesting camera angles. Or, in this case, the Pokemon themselves being in some peculiar positions. Doesn't matter if you're on Switch 1 or 2, it seems like Pokemon just can't figure out how to stand on this bridge without phasing right through it. But honestly, this is a pretty minor glitch that's just kinda silly, at least compared to some of the more prevalent glitches back when the game first came out. Next, we're gonna take a look at what is without a doubt the most notoriously lagging area in all of Scarlet and Violet, Caseroya Lake, where frame rates go to die. 90% of the time someone's trying to make a point about the lag in these games, they use footage of this place. And it's really not hard to see why, because as soon as more than like 5 Pokemon spawn, you really start to feel that stutter. And it doesn't help at all that the most common spawn here is Volton Veluza forcing a battle to begin, and again, the footage really just speaks for itself here. But thanks to the power of the Switch 2, it's actually playable now. Not once did I experience even a little bit of slowdown, no matter how many fishy friends spawned in. And boy, did a lot of them spawn. Like, come on guys, you can stop now. Okay, seriously, that's enough. Admittedly, I came here during an outbreak to really test the limits of Lagaroya Lake. And to my surprise, it really didn't slow down or lag at all. But like I just said, it does sometimes feel like too many Pokemon spawn. I'll expand a little more on my issues with the increased spawns later in the video. But before moving on, I wanted to test at least one area from the DLC, a place I consistently dreaded having to come back to. This is one of the most beautiful looking areas in all of Pokemon, but it's really dragged down by the constant slow motion as soon as you dip even your little pinky toe into that crystal clear water. But perhaps even more bothersome than the lag in this crystal pool is the eyesore of an outline that forms around your character. This is definitely not exclusive to the crystal pool, as I experienced it pretty much in any situation where your character is standing in front of a bright light. Maybe you were lucky enough not to notice, but once I did, I couldn't unsee it. I remembered it being particularly bad in Area 0, which is another area known for its lag, so I decided to run some tests there, and as you can see, the difference is night and day. It may seem like I'm exaggerating, but I personally found this to be the most jarring visual oddity in Scarlet and Violet, so I'm really glad to see it fixed. And while we're here, I just realized I hadn't really talked about the image quality itself yet. Honestly, I'm not too familiar with technical terms like anti-aliasing. I don't know, bro, it's just mumbo jumbo to me. But even a digital dummy like me can easily tell there is a clearly noticeable difference in the quality of characters, especially those farther away. The Switch one tried to salvage performance in Scarlet and Violet a little bit by having characters farther away load a lower quality version of their models. You might have seen some memes of these here and there. They are pretty funny to look at as memes, but in the game, it's not so funny. However, on the Switch 2, it looks like characters load their full quality models and at full frame rate, making the game overall look a whole lot nicer. As with many things in Pokemon though, kind of a double-edged sword. Because of this increased spawn distance, I found that the Switch 2 sometimes looks worse when it comes to poppin'. Not poppin' like what's poppin', I mean like literally characters popping into existence out of nowhere. Again, I don't know if these are the right terms, but that's just one of the cases where I think the improvements on Switch 2 actually make the underlying issues with Scarlet and Violet even more apparent. And there's perhaps no better example of this than the infamous windmills. I guess I should clarify, because most video comparisons I've seen focus on the singular big windmill in Artisan. And understandably so, since on the original Switch, this thing wouldn't even work until you got close up to it, and even then, it'd run at a solid 4 frames per second. But what if I told you they somehow forgot about the rest of the windmills? Over in the West Province, on the way to Cascarafa, there's a whole slew of wind-powered turbines. Except half the windmills don't work, at least until you get up close and personal with them. And this is why I genuinely think they forgot to update these, because as you can see in this side-by-side, the exact same windmills seem to be broken whether you're on Switch 1 or 2, which shouldn't be the case considering the increased draw distance. So even with the hardware upgrade, these little details remind you that even still, not everything's fully ironed out in Scarlet and Violet. Overall, I can't hate though. These complaints are minute compared to how the choppy performance and plethora of bugs added up to make the original experience so frustrating. Really makes me wonder how fans might have reacted to these games if they released with the performance they have now from the very beginning. Maybe they really would be top 3 Pokemon games. But of course, the improvements on Switch 2 aren't just visual, as the next-gen upgrade also brought a significant boost to Pokemon spawns. A change that, perhaps more than any other, makes it worth replaying these games all over again. Immediately, you'll notice areas which previously felt empty now teeming with life. And while I'm not entirely sure if Game Freak actually changed which mons can show up, it definitely feels like there's way more variety out there. This change hasn't just made it easier to spot some of the more elusive Pokemon, but also had a noticeable impact on shiny hunting, since more Pokemon being on screen means more chances one of them could be a shiny. Still, lacking the shiny sparkle from Legends Arceus means you're way more likely to miss a shiny that spawned somewhere off screen. Though, I guess if you didn't even know a shiny spawn, then you probably wouldn't miss it. But as great as the increased spawns are, it can sometimes feel a bit excessive, almost like there's a mass outbreak happening all the time. It really depends on the area though, like in places with a lot of natural objects, the Pokemon nicely blend in with the leaves of grass, trees, and rocks. But in more open, empty areas, it starts to get a little overwhelming, Like you're trying to stroll through Target when a Pokemon TCG just restocked. I'm just trying to get some deodorant, bro. Overall, I'm a pretty big fan of this change though. In combination with the improved frame rate and graphics, really does make it feel like you're going through a whole new version of Paldea. Though I still wish the base game featured things like level scaling and a more rewarding open world, but that's a topic for another video, which I actually already made, so check it out after this one. But to wrap up my thoughts on Pokémon Scarlet and Violet on the Nintendo Switch 2, I want to reiterate that despite some small bugs persisting from the original release, and a few new visual oddities popping up here and there, I'm pleasantly surprised at how good it turns out. To be honest, I wasn't expecting anything past a stable 30 FPS, and maybe that's just proof of how low my expectations for this were. But now, I really can't see myself going back to playing on the original console, which brings us to the future. Like I mentioned in the opening, the upcoming Pokemon game is confirmed to be receiving a completely separate Nintendo Switch 2 edition, but they've yet to confirm if the Switch 2 edition for ZA will include anything beyond enhanced resolution and frame rates. For some, these upgrades might be enough, and if they were free like with Scarlet and Violet, I would totally agree. But considering other Nintendo Switch 2 edition games will get additional helpful improvements, I would hope to see some exclusive features being kept hidden for Legend ZA's Switch 2 edition. And who knows, it might just be revealed at the upcoming Pokemon Presents a little over a month away. So should you get a Switch 2 just to experience Scarlet and Violet in silky smooth 60 FPS? Honestly, gaming can so often be a much needed escape from the harsh realities of the world. And at least for me, experiencing Scarlet and Violet with this glow up has been nothing short of therapeutic. Like I said, I really can't see myself going back to playing it on the original Switch, and the same will likely be true for Legend ZA, regardless if it has any extra features or not. Obviously, a lot of my issues with Scarlet and Violet remain since the gameplay itself wasn't altered, but with all the improvements made under the hood, I'd say despite not actually being a Switch 2 title, Scarlet and Violet's patch might just be the biggest reason to get a Switch 2 right now. At least until the new Donkey Kong game comes out, cause have you seen it? Shit looks bananas.